What's up? I'm Adam, and today's subject is going to be photography workshops. So, I have attended 2 of Jason Lanier's photography workshops in the last, 12 months. Really 8, but whatever. One of the questions that I often get is it worth it? It's a good question because photography is not cheap to get into. Especially these days, everyone has a cell phone camera, and regardless of what it is, the average cell phone camera these days, even if it's a cheap cell phone camera, is way better than the cameras that we had when, like 20 years ago or 30 years ago, little point and shoots and stuff like that. So, transitioning into real photography, and I say that not to disparage anybody, but there's a huge difference. It gets expensive very quickly. Even if you're getting the lower end camera, you still have to pay for lenses, which, you might be able to get a lens for $50 to $100, especially if you're going on eBay, but when you want to advance, it's just something that costs money. And until you're making money as a photographer, and I'm not currently, it gets dicey. You got to make choices. You got to put food on the table, So, when people look at these photography workshops, and, there's famous people that do it like Jason, and then there's other people who are maybe the big local photographer. I know there's a couple of guys out here in New Orleans who aren't super famous, but, very good at what they do. I'm not insulting them. Their workshops are also like $1,000 or $2,000, and so you got to wonder, like, is it worth that? And when it comes to Jason's, which is the only one I can speak of, I have to say yes. I would never encourage anyone to put themselves in a bad position financially. I'm assuming, if I would ask Jason, I'm assuming he would say the same thing. Don't put yourself in a bad position just to attend one of these workshops. First of all, they keep coming around. But there's something that you will definitely walk away with, if you go to these. And I'm going to separate them into 2 because I went to 2 different types. The first one was a photo walk. Now, you might say to yourself, well, I mean, what is that? Like, you're going to a photo walk, you're just going to hang out with a famous photographer. Yes and no. The photo walks that Jason organizes tend to be condensed versions of his workshop. So instead of spending, say, $1,500, his workshops vary depending on what he's doing, how many days it is, such and such a thing. But let's say an average of like 4 days, $1,500. Instead of spending that in that amount of time, you pay $250 to $300. I forget how much it was, and you get a 2-hour version of it. Sounds dicey, right? Like $250. Is it a massive amount of money? No. But it's probably one of your bill payments. It might be your car note. It might be your insurance. So if you're living paycheck to paycheck, like putting a few extra nuts away for the winter, it can be, it's an actual decision. However, I went into that. I figured I'd take a chance. And I got to say, like, people look at Jason, and I think one of the reasons people have a problem with him is because he tries to play sort of the rock and roll photographer thing. And I'm not saying that he's playing a character or anything like that. He kind of is, but it's also kind of him. But I don't think people like the, I'll say, cockiness, But what's interesting about it is as cocky as he comes across, when you're there with him and you're in his workshop, and he'll tell you from minute 1, I know this is a lot of money to you. I appreciate you spending that money on me, and I'm not going to take advantage of that. And what he does is tell you, like, yeah, I'm really good. I'm really, really good. But that doesn't mean you can't do it. And he does a very good job of getting it through your head, like, this is achievable, this is attainable, and that's not to say, like, you can be him, but you can achieve your photography goals. And I think he views it as his job to sort of help you get there. In those 2 hours, I was blown away. I genuinely, I came out of that with a very different attitude towards photography, and very inspired. So what's interesting, though, I will mention, at some point during the lecture, he was explaining something about posing models, and I'll say right off, I hate posing models. It's a part of photography that I find kind of artificial, and I have a hard time doing it. Like, I have to do things my way. But that's not to say that I shouldn't learn how to do, like basic photography, posing, all that working. You got to learn how to work with models, frankly, unless you want to be a landscape photographer or what have you. There's obviously different types. So he was explaining just different techniques and getting, the best way to work with model, get them to pose. And I thought to myself, I'm going to forget this, because I know me. Like, it's a lot of information. Like, I can't really write this down. I thought maybe I should be recording this with my phone. I should probably ask first. So I did. And it came off, first of all, I interrupted him. But it came off a little, like, blunt. It was very, no, there's no recording of my workshops. And I was a little embarrassed, and I think he realized, like, like, I didn't mean any harm. So he said, but thank you for asking, and before you did it. And I was like, yeah, no problem. So I tell you all that because what's funny is, so after the photo walk, when I got home, I put on a couple of his videos, and a lot of what he teaches in his workshops, not all of it, but a lot of it, if you're willing to spend the time and actually watch the videos, it's there. Like, I didn't need to record it. There was already a recording of it. So it's a little handy guide there. So you might think to yourself, okay, well, I mean, if all I have to do is watch the videos, why go? Well, again, if you can't afford them, then that's absolute fact. However, if you can, I will get to the full-on workshop which I attended. And a little confession here, and a few people know this that were actually at the workshop. So he did a very special workshop with the Georgia Professional Photography Association. It's called Georgia Photo Works, and they do it every year. This is the only year that Jason's attended. I'm pretty sure it's the only year that he's going to attend. But it was like $600. So I saw it, and it didn't even seem real. I'm like, wait a minute. He charges like minimum $1,200 for a 4-day workshop, minimum. And this is $600. This is half. This can't be real. But it looked legit. It was on his Facebook page, so like I went for it. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. This was in northern Georgia, about an hour and a half north of Atlanta. I ended up paying just as much as I would have if I would have done the one that he had done previously in New Orleans, which was in Mardi Gras 2018. So I'm an idiot. I could have just given him the money. That said, I have a lot of really fun, good experiences from Georgia Photo Works. Got a lot of funny stories. And to me, that's worth it. Even though I'm still paying on that debt. But, damn. I have to say, so first of all, yeah, condensed version, photo walk. If that's all you have, do that. But at the end of the Georgia Photo Works, after the 4 days, he asked, well, what do you felt like you've learned? Do you felt like you got something out of this? What do you feel like you've learned? And I remember telling him, Actually, no, it wasn't at the end. I think it was at the end of the second day. But I said, and this is a lesson for you, because sometimes when you're learning photography, you go out, you do a shoot, and then you go back home and you're editing the photos, and you're like, what am I doing? Like, this is math, this is science. I'm not dumb. Why am I not getting this? Why am I doing like these things that I could have done with my cell phone, quite frankly? That's not totally true, but you get it. And what I learned was you have a tendency to go like, I just don't understand how to use my equipment properly. And that might be true. But coming away from working with Jason and the things that I saw at Georgia Photo Works, I realized that my whole concept of photography was wrong. You know, it's not just the way you go about what you're doing. Your whole concept of what you're doing is wrong. And I don't want to get too in the woods with this, but there was like a Plato analogy in my head. If you've ever heard of the theory of the forms, look it up anyway. I really shouldn't have even said that. But what I got mainly, and I definitely got technique and stuff like that, and I learned a lot. But what I got mainly was just perspective on photography and being a photographer. And anytime you can walk away from an experience with a change in perspective, to me, that's worth it. That's how you become a better person. That's how you advance in life. I don't know how his regular workshops normally function. I'm assuming you get at least a little, because again, this is him working with a different organization to put something together. It's still him. We kind of did our own thing. It was very different than what the other instructors were doing. But on the second day, a bunch of us got a chance to watch Jason shoot. If you go and you watch his videos from a couple of months ago, I think it was April, the two that I was there for the filming, where one was at a bus graveyard, and I'm actually on camera there. I think you see my gut. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure you might see my ass crack. Sorry if you did. And the other one was in an abandoned pool underneath a school basketball court. And we got, in both occasions, we actually got to watch Jason work. And I'm gonna tell you, like, the first day, like, he's just like, all right, this is the situation, go out and shoot, and I'm gonna work with you and like critique you and all that. And he wanted to get an idea of what we were doing before he got into anything else. But the second day, like, yeah, he did the critiques and all that. The second day, actually getting to watch him shoot and see, like, this is how I do it, and break it down, was so much more valuable to me as a photographer. I'm like, oh, okay. And like actually getting asked questions. Why did you do that? You know, and that wasn't something that we could have done at the photo walk, because if we had, it's only 2 hours, you know. And you know, on this the last day when we did the abandoned pool, he only had like a half hour to shoot, so sometimes it is condensed. But you can't, you know, we wouldn't have had enough time to do it on a photo walk. It's 2 hours. You can't, you know, break down, and you can't really set up a full shoot. That's not normally how things would be done. Anyway, worth every penny to me. So, next question. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Money not being a factor, I'd do another full-on workshop. Money not being a factor, it's definitely a factor at the moment. I just bought a lot of equipment, including the Sony a6400, which I'm currently filming on. And I love this camera, by the way. I've got a Sony a6400 and a Sigma 60mm f1.4. That's the current setup. Also, I did get a Rotolight. It was half off. You don't have to get a Rotolight. You don't have to get, like, I don't even think Jason shoots with the 6400, but I fell in love with Sony products. The Rotolite was just something I'm doing. Anyway, I'm over-explaining this because I don't want to come off like just a fanboy who's like, I'm going to get everything Jason has. You know, people do a lot of that kind of shit. It's still going to come off that way. But anyway, I love the 6400. If you're looking to get a Sony, like get into Sony, I have an A7 III. I love the A7 III. I shoot with the 6400 more. It's more compact. It's a lot more fun to shoot with. A lot more fun. And, you know, like you're seeing the video quality right now, it's pretty good. Anyway, money not being a factor, I go into a full-on workshop. I would definitely, if Jason comes and does another photo walk anywhere near New Orleans, I will absolutely put up the, whatever it is, $300 to go. It's worth it. It's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. And, again, I think you'll come away with a better attitude. And you don't have to have a Sony camera. He'll tease you a little bit. I had a Nikon D7100 at the time with the photo walk. But he always says, like, use whatever gear works for you. And often the gear that works for you is the gear that you can afford. If all you can afford is a Neoware a Neoware flash and a Yongnuo, I don't know how to pronounce Yongnuo, YONGNUO. They sell like 50mm lenses. Like I bought one for my Nikon. It's like $50, and that lens was awesome. Like, it wasn't top of the line, don't get me wrong, but like if that's all you can afford, go out and shoot with it. Learn your gear, you know. But anyway, this is going on for a very long video. If anyone has any questions, feel free to post them in the comments. The way things are these days, I'm sure I have a lot of comments. But anyway, thank you. I've been Adam. Next video may or may not be about photography. I'm going to be talking about a lot of different things on this channel. I've just decided I'm not going to worry about trying to be a YouTuber, which was never really a goal of mine. I just have a need to talk. But on this channel, I'll talk about photography. I'll talk about Disney, comics, sci-fi. Like, sometimes I may talk about politics, and it'll say it. You know, if you want to subscribe to the channel, please do. You don't have to watch every video, but I hope you come along. Thank you, and goodbye.